Hi, I'm Tamara Swaab. Thank you for this interview today. I'm at the Center for Mind and Brain and the Psychology Department at the University of California, Davis. And I teach mostly language and the brain. And lately we have focused a lot on bilingualism, which I find a really interesting topic.
What advice would you give to stay motivated and engaged throughout school?
I've had a long life now, and so at different junctures in my life, I would have probably given different advice. But when I was in college, I have to say that I always liked to learn, so that motivated me a lot. But at the time, I am, as you can hear, not originally from the United States. I came here from the Netherlands, and I was at the University of Nijmegen in the Netherlands. And um, in the Netherlands, there's a lot more time for vacation than there is in the United States. So I love to travel, and I still do. And then, so I would take time to travel, and hang out with friends was another favorite thing. And we would just support each other, and that kept me motivated and going. So I did take breaks.
What does your research focus on?
Well, in our lab, we are interested in the cognitive neuroscience of language. We're really interested to find out how our brain understands language. We as adults know many words, about 80,000, and when we comprehend speech, there's this remarkable feat where the words just fleet by and we're still able to kind of keep up with that and assign meaning. So meaning assignment is one of the major topics in our lab. And so we want to know how people understand words, how they understand sentences, and how they understand discourse. And we use electrophysiological measures to look a lot at speech understanding, because you can measure the electrical activity of the brain as it unfolds in real time while people are listening to speech. And then in collaboration with Matt Traxler, my co-author, we do a lot of eye tracking research, because you can then look at people's eyes as they are focusing on words. And that tells us something about, how difficult it is to process those words. And then we have done a lot of work in monolingual English speakers. And more recently, we've started to do a lot of work in bilinguals, also bimodal bilinguals, so people who know sign language and English, for example. And we have also done work in adults who have aphasia or schizophrenia and who have certain difficulties with language comprehension and or production. So we also are interested to see what happens when things go wrong in the brain.
What type of opportunities are there for undergrads in your lab?
Yeah, so at UC Davis, we're we're doing a lot to try and involve undergraduates in our research. So I have a wonderful group of graduate students and a postdoc who are all working on interesting projects. I think they're interesting, and they do too. And so people can apply for research rotations in the lab, and then they can become involved in projects. And then if they're really interested, they can also start doing their own research in their last year, in their senior year, and try to do some kind of honors thesis. We also have, several ways in which we help or encourage people from all varieties of life to become involved in our research. So many of our faculty try to make our labs accessible to anybody who would be interested. And then when I teach undergraduates, I take them to the lab, even though my class is 100 people. We just go in groups and then they can actually see inside the kitchen of the EEG lab. And they often are fascinated when they see that. And then often people will apply for research rotations that way as well.
How did you choose your field of study?
Well, I actually talk about that. We talk about that in our chapter. So when I was 12 years old, my grandfather, who I love dearly, got a stroke. And after the stroke, he was unable to speak, and he really was not able to comprehend a lot of language anymore either. And I always already had been interested in language, but then I became more interested in how the brain does stuff and why it was that my grandfather all of a sudden couldn't speak to me anymore. And then when after high school, I was kind of thinking, well, psychology might give me a chance to learn more about these things. And in Nijmegen, they had a special program for cognitive neuroscience, which seemed very appropriate. And that was actually cognitive neuroscience or neuropsychology is what I really wanted to do. So I wanted to help people get better. So a lot of things just came together. I was a first year or a first generation undergraduate. My mother was super supportive, but we didn't know really a lot about how college and graduate school would work. And I had never imagined myself becoming a professor. So it's not all super planning. There are also circumstances that help you guide you to the things that you really like to do, I think.